Hey, hello everyone. We're back with a new season. It's time for Capricorn season. We're going to have a fascinating conversation, as we always do. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what's ahead. I know this has been a bumpy ride for folks the last two seasons at least. So, Anastasia, we're certainly looking to see if there's some reprieve ahead or some spaciousness. So, let's see what you have to share.
I'll be looking for it
Yeah.
at your request. Yeah, we enter in Capricorn season and it starts on December 21st. And it starts exactly on the winter solstice. And this is not just a symbolic date in the calendar, it's one of the key turning points of the entire year. And because the winter solstice marks the longest night and the shortest day, and darkness reaches its maximum, and only after that does the daylight begin to return. And that shift of a season is what people have always paid attention to. And for thousands of years, people mark this moment as the rebirth of light. We've had different holidays celebrating it. So I wanted to start it with this small overview of the holidays. And what's most fascinating for me is not the holidays themselves, because they are understandable, but how this was celebrated. This can give us a picture of what this season is about, what Capricorn is about, and what is this shift from night to day is bringing to us. First of all, in ancient Rome, there was a feast of Saturnalia. At the time of the feast, normal structures were temporarily suspended. Work stopped, social roles were reversed. The poor would act as if they were rich, and vice versa. Debts were forgiven. So people stepped out of hierarchy. And it served to remind people that structure exists to serve life, not replace it. That's one of the biggest points of Capricorn. And then in the Nordic Yule traditions, the focus was different. Yule was about endurance and continuity, and they kept fires burning through the longest nights. Evergreen branches were brought into homes as symbols of life that survives winter, and rituals centered on protection, ancestry, survival through the dark season. So the emphasis was on holding steady until the light returned. And that's also is about Capricorn. It's about the steadiness, and it's about what we are keeping, what we are holding. And later, Christianity places Christmas at the same point, at this point of the year, and carries forward the idea of light being born when darkness reaches its peak. And this is also about the turning point, and it's also about Capricorn, because Capricorn has these goals, this light ahead to which it is heading. So these are three big holidays that are known. There are many more, and I'm sure if we dive deeper, we will find some more similarities. But it's all connected with all this nature and Capricorn season and the traditions that we've had. It's kind of these traditions tell this Capricorn story. And this is a moment when structure is rebuilt, and a moment when endurance matters more than growth. And this time we have a very, very, very Capricorn season. I will explain it later. And that's why it is so important to understand the main idea behind it. And I personally do feel how everything changes uh, during this time, that and it doesn't last just over one night, but it's Saturnalia, for example. They were celebrated for 9 days in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Yule was also 9 and 12 days, so it lasted for some time. We need time to encompass it, and I feel it. I don't know, what do you have any do you have this feeling around this time of the year that something is turning?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this time of year, because of my work, I'm always like, I'm just at the end of my endurance, actually. And so I'm always hoping that something's turning, so maybe that's it. Um, but yeah, no, this is really interesting because, from the human design perspective, this season, this Capricorn season, we are stepping into a new eighth of the wheel, right? And the wheel, the mandala in human design is divided into lots of different sections, but the one of the most significant ones is this eighth. Like each eighth of the wheel has a different underlying energy. And the underlying energy of Capricorn is joy. It's the lake trigram, it's the joyous, right? And so this whole time, this whole section of human design gates through Capricorn are all about, they're all grounded in joy in some form or fashion, right? And I think about that from this idea of light, right? Because, this is where our inner light and happiness is shining, right? Is when we're in these states of joy. And so when we step into this joyous section, we're coming through this series of gates which I think really support a lot of what you were saying. Like the first gate in Capricorn is gate 10, which is the behavior of the self. It's the most like personal role gate selfness, like who am I, how am I going to behave in the world. So, and again, it's got an underlying level of joy, like what is it that makes me the happiest in the world, how do I bring joy to the world, and how do I bring joy to myself. And that's what starts this season, which I think is really lovely. And it falls right around Christmas, right? And so all of us are experiencing this energy of like, who am I at my truest? Um, which can also get us, into altercations and stuff too, right? Because we all want to be our true self, and yet we find ourselves in these very familial situations, right, around holidays and whatnot, where we're like, ugh, you really rub me the wrong way when you're your truest self, right? So I do see both sides of this energy. But again, this whole section of time, there's a lot of fuel in this time from a human design perspective, right? The gates that are being activated, gate 58, 38, 54, those are all root fuel energies, right? And I think about this push to fuel us through these darker times, right? Ready for more light to come in, giving us the energy to keep going. And then towards the end of the Capricorn season, we enter into more pressure gates, more fuel, but they're from a bit more from the head, but they're in this beautiful like inner truth and mystery, like understanding like what it is that we are trying to do in what comes next. Because from this perspective, human design, we're actually at the end of a cycle, right? We're coming through what is the quarter of mutation. We're finishing up this year essentially, and so things are trying to come to a close. And I think about this fuel and this ability to kind of think through like what is it I want next is being offered, especially towards the end of the Capricorn season. So I don't know if that completely aligns, but that's kind of what I'm seeing from the human design perspective.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating because joy is not what we think about when we talk about Capricorn. Because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is discipline and laws and hardships, and it's not about joy. But this light that comes, it adds slowly, but it adds every day. And these goals that Capricorn has, and they are so high, they're so ambitious. It's heading to light. So it's an interesting approach to look at it about as a joyous spirit of going.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
it's interesting. There's a very specific energy in this time period. Gate 58 is the gate of aliveness, and it connects to gate 18 in the body graph, the gate of corrections. And together they make the channel of judgment, right? And so we all know what we all know judgment, right? And it is here to make things better. But this is something that I thought I found really beautiful when I was, studying this particular energy. We're all here to make things more, better, and we're doing things like correcting things and judging things and all of that in the spirit of trying to make things better so that there's more joy, right? Like this is the underlying idea for corrections, right? Like we aren't here just, or we shouldn't be just nitpicking to nitpick. There is a reason we want to make things better. And so, yes, I agree. Like Saturn is this disciplinarian, but we don't discipline just to be jerks. We discipline because we're trying to make things better and more loving, right? And it doesn't always work that way, but that's what we're, trying to do.
That's perfect. We could end our session now because that's now we have the entire understanding of what we are going to achieve. And that's so perfect that all the hardships that we are going through, they really are for a reason. And joy is such a nice reason to have. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this season is actually, from astrological perspective, it's very practical. We can do a lot. And it also a little, and maybe as I'm thinking now, maybe not, maybe much more than I thought before, it is about finding this joy, because it's also about finding inspiration, and I will tell when. But it also is very straightforward. This month, it focuses us on a specific topic for everyone. When anything arises, especially in the beginning of January, if anything arises in your life that that you cannot throw away, that you cannot omit and get rid of, and that's the major topic that you should concentrate on. And I believe it's a very important month because of this, because we see exactly what we need to do. It's not that we have to choose. we know what is our best and biggest priority now. And because of that, I thought about maybe giving this a specific topic for every sign. And then you could apply this, knowing the topics, keeping them in mind, then you can apply and relate them to different phases of the month, to your specific theme. But again, individual horoscopes are very important, so it may be something different in your case. So be open to hear and to see what the universe tells you. But most probably, if you have the sun, the moon, or ascendant in a specific sign, so listen to 3 signs, you will be focusing on the topics I'm talking about now. So for Aries and Scorpio, this season highlights direction, ambition, and long-term goals. Questions around where you are going, what you are fighting for, and what kind of future you are building, they may become especially sharp. For Scorpio, it is milder. And you Scorpios, you also have this emphasis on education and travel and widening the horizons. While for Aries, it's more career and status driven, harsher, but with bigger outcomes, and probably with better results, depending on what you are doing. There is also a risk for both Aries and Scorpio to struggle for something that is not that important. You have a lot of energy now, so don't struggle and don't give it away for nothing. Struggle for what really is your priority. Then we have Taurus and Virgo. The key theme is building something solid. And actually, it's quite a good month for you. The energy of the month aligns with your need for structure, order, usefulness. But the main topics are not actually work and duties, rather doing what you enjoy doing. So they are more aligned probably with these joyous gates. It's about your hobbies and a circle of pleasant people, your kids, and that's where you can achieve the most. These topics may arise. Just don't relax too much. It's time to work, because Capricorn likes to work. So do work on your hobby, do input your energy in something that brings joy to you. For Gemini and Sagittarius, this season brings attention mostly to finances and shared resources and commitments. This may feel heavy, especially if you're tempted to escape into ideas, plans, future possibilities, some rose pony, this what is possible, and I can do anything. This season keeps pulling you back into reality, and the reality is very material. It's about money, agreements, responsibilities. So it's not easy. But here you also have these opportunities that arise. Here you can change something, and you can stabilize your finances actually, if you are taking it right, if you are accepting what's coming. Then for Cancer and Libra, we have these relationships and emotional stability that come into focus. Partnerships, family matters, and the need for balance between yourself and others. These are especially important things here. And I believe this month asks for emotional maturity from you. And it's about this fear that if I don't please everyone, if everyone is not satisfied, then I will lose my ground. I will lose something very important to me. So this fear that you need to overcome, you have to stand up for yourself. You can stay mild. You don't need to be aggressive, but just don't forget about your borders, about your limits, and what you can actually give versus what you would like to give to others. So that's the idea behind it. Leo and Aquarius. For you, the emphasis is on daily routines, work demands, health, and energy levels, because this season asks you to be realistic about how much you can handle and how you distribute your time, strength, energy. So taking steps one by one and paying attention to routine, you can actually find a way to organize all the processes more effectively. And you can actually find a way to build on your health. Just don't overuse it, because there is this risk that for some reasons, for some fears, for example, you're afraid that you will lose your authority and your status if you don't show how strong you are. You continue being strong, but if it goes over your limits, it's not the time to go over your limits. You will be stronger when you care for yourself. That's one of the things. And for Aquarius especially, it's also about the fear of staying alone. The fear, not alone without other people, but alone and facing your own fears. It's a fear of fear. It's a fear to look in the eyes of the fear. So don't be afraid to look at it. Don't be afraid to name the fears. And then you will be able to find a better way and to finish some processes. For Aquarius, it's also important to finish some things, because really, for many of us, this season and the next season, we have 2 more months when we are finishing things, when we are getting ready to enter a new, I would not be afraid to say, era, because then we have a big shift for slow planets. And for Aquarius, it's especially important. And then Capricorn and Pisces. This is a deeply transitional period for you, and also kind of closing the story of the last 2 years. Not fully, because it will end hopefully in 2 months, but that's when you can have a lot of influence on what's going on. So it's a strong period for you. The main topics are your identity and understanding where I'm going. So for Capricorns, mostly it will connect to your personal decisions. And it can actually be any topic in life. Perhaps for Capricorn, it can be any topic. For others, I'm pretty sure that it's more or less about all the topics I was talking about. But Capricorn can bring up anything that feels very personal, that forms your identity. And I believe these topics come so that you have to notice them, so that you notice them, that do not miss them. For Pisces, it may also be connected with the circle of people that are around you. Some important social connections, they may be reviewed. And here it is also important to why I put them together, Capricorn and Pisces, because identity is important. So Pisces may dissolve in these connections. They may forget about themselves. So again, think about your boundaries. Think about how you fit and how your people around you fit you, not just how you can be one of many. So now, as you have your topics in mind, we can proceed with the overall understanding of the season. And Christine had already inputs, had already given a nice input. I mean, it's really like I look at it now. I was talking now, and I was still processing what you were saying about the joy. Yeah, because Saturn, throughout Capricorn season, the sun is ruled by Saturn. And not only the sun, we have 4 planets in Capricorn during this time, 4 personal planets. It means that everything is ruled by Saturn. And Saturn here is completing a major cycle. It roughly, this is a cycle of roughly 2.5 years long. So we are naturally starting reviewing what we've built, what we've endured, and what no longer deserves our energy. So it's less about joy. It's about this tiredness, about this fatigue. So it's not easy to find the joy. And on the surface, Capricorn asks for structure, for responsibility and clear decisions, but it is placed in pieces, and this is not an easy sign for Saturn. So this is where things dissolve in pieces, they end, they lose clear form. So many situations may feel unfinished, unclear, or emotionally complex. And what I'm thinking about is that the main mistake during this period is trying to force certainty. It's like when you demand final answers from people, you demand perfect plans, you want emotional clarity in a relationship. It just backfires. It doesn't give the result you are seeking. So don't look for this certainty. Don't force the certainty. Don't be this Capricorn. Look at look at it from the perspective that at first certainty will come. It will come later, and that there are things that I can control. In these things, I can expect certainty because I can control them. So it's the month of workable solutions. It's about not trying to manage everything, just one thing. Choose one topic, choose one thing, and work in it for the entire month. And set boundaries around time, energy, and responsibility. You don't need to see the whole future. You only need the next stable step. That's how I see the entire season. And by the end of the season, we do have a possibility to structure this all and to really to have a meaningful transition and transformation. So yeah, I think it's a very valuable time. How do you feel about how do you all feel about such a season? do you feel it already around in the air? Is it too early?
I certainly have been feeling it for sure. And because I have the good fortune of living so close to nature, I can't help but bring up what's going on with the trees right now. And because everything's an inside job right now. And when I'm listening to both Christine and you, Anastasia, we're talking about things that we may not see the product of yet. It's very internalized, and at this point, all the work that trees are doing are on this very cellular level because they have to adapt to the harsh weather and the harsh circumstances that they're faced with. And so I think about that in terms of humans and how you both talked about this season that we're reevaluating things internally. We're not building big structures right now. And there was a really important word that you talked about, Anastasia, and that was endurance. And that's exactly what the season's about for trees, because they have shifted into this period where it's all about endurance. They're not growing, they're not putting anything out there. They are strengthening their reserves to prepare for the next growth, which aligns so beautifully, I think, with both the astrology and the human design, because when we come in really close into ourselves, that's the only place we can feel the joy. So that's happening. I'm sure those trees are really joyous out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's also like what do the trees do at this time? They concentrate on just surviving and on their like on one step at a time. They are not given all this multiple of leaves and blooming and so on. So it also helps us to understand that we should be reducing multitasking. We should focus on fewer goals, but take them seriously. So it is actually a good time for planning and structuring and committing, but only to what you can realistically sustain. So it's important to understand what exactly is your priority, and then you can be very efficient in this, and you can structure around it a lot, and you can solve it. Louise?
Yeah, well, I was saying when Lauren was talking about nature, kind of pulled what both you, Christine, and Anastasia have been saying, and the they we've gotten away from nature outside, but we've gotten away from our own internal natures, and that ability to be ourselves in the world. And you'd mentioned Gate 10, Christine, and that's about self-love. It's like, but I need to love me first before I can love you. But then that love is what leads to joy. And I think we've gotten really far away from that. And I think that the traditions that you were talking about, Anastasia, were things that supported that in the self and in the community, and allowed people to bring it out in connection with what was happening in the world around them. So we've gotten away from 12 days of Christmas and I mean, now it starts at right after Halloween, and it's all very material. But in that, just sort of letting go and being with the ones we love and being ourselves, it feels like it's something we could really try to work on this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially at the end of December. You're just so much on point with the end of December. I mean, we have we have Venus and Mercury both square in Saturn, and this usually sets the emotional and mental climate of coldness. We feel restrained, we feel critical, we are emotionally distant, and communication can be very dry or overly serious, and people may sound harsher than they intend to. Conversations may revolve around some limitations, and we can feel, actually just simply feel lack of love. And you cannot just go and it's not an abundant time for love. We have to process it. We have to make it from somewhere. We have to find this resource.
Yeah, it's interesting as I'm listening to all three of you. I think about this discipline thing. I think this has come up in our conversation in various ways about this disciplining nature of Saturn, right? And how there is this kind of sense of like, and we talk about discipline in our culture, right? As coming from the outside, right? Discipline usually happens, something is disciplining us, right? But truly, and I think that this is what's going on. I think we're in this shift. Like discipline is an inside job, right? Like I think about an artist, right? Like there is a discipline. We call it a discipline, right? Like when we learn something deeply, like astrology or something, right? Like we're doing it from an internal drive because of joy, because we love it, and we are disciplined to meet it every day, right? Because it's part of something that lights us up. And yet, when we talk about discipline in general in our daily conversation, we're generally talking about it from this like parenting, like from somebody doing something to us, somebody keeping us on a track, on a path, right? Like, and I really wonder if this, part of what's going on between this human design and astrology piece is like this piece about the joy that's underlying the discipline, right? Like there is some connection here, and I do when we are shifting, we're making this huge shift from one global cycle to another. And I wonder and I hope in many ways that maybe this discipline piece and this disciplining Saturn becomes a more loving Saturn in some ways. Because it is like this is here, like we are here for ourselves, right? And this idea that we should be out there disciplining others and conditioning others and doing all that, like that's falling away. And I think that this might be a real clear example of how that shift is happening. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it's a lot to think about, actually. Yeah, because to find the source of love when it's not, when you lack it and it doesn't come from outside, it's not an easy task. And this self inner discipline that arises from joy, from love, from what we are doing it for the sake of this love, this is a high conscious decision. The end of December, actually, it can show it very well, because of this coldness, because of this discomfort and this lack of warm energy. It kind of tests reality, and it asks, does this idea or this relationship or this plan actually hold up when conditions are strict? So it's a harsh time when you are checking in and it's kind of a test for the relationships, for example. But when everything is okay, or everything is beautiful, and the people love each other, then there is no problem. It just makes them stronger. It just makes them more enduring. They can go further. It's when hardships make us love each other more and care for each other more. I just think that because it's not that easy, perhaps it's important to not everyone feels this way, and not everyone is ready to process all this, and maybe when the problem arises, then it is a problem that I have to deal with. Maybe it's not the person I have to be with, or maybe it's not the project or the job I should be doing. But it is best to keep communication clear, or write out what bothers you, or speak to someone. Double check details instead of assuming. And if you receive criticism at this time, take it as information, not as a personal attack. It will help everyone, you and the person involved. So what usually backfires is taking everything personally at this time, and going into this emotional disgrace, and it just, then everything goes off the rails. It shouldn't, it's the way it should not. So you cannot force warmth, but you can at least not answer with the coldness, and be gentle to people around and to yourself as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's how we covered the the challenges of December, actually. And then we come to January 3rd. That's when we have the full moon in Cancer, and it's the first emotional peak of the season. That's when our emotions open up, and that's the full moon in Cancer. So it brings up themes of safety, of the roots of emotional needs and vulnerability. And around this full moon, emotions tend to rise quickly and often feel very personal. But at least we don't have anymore this Venus squared in Saturn. It's different. So at least we have space to show our emotions, and to express them and to feel them, and especially in private life and close relationships, it can be seen very well. So like emotional conversations at home, and tension, and feeling torn between caring for others and meeting self expectations. And a strong desire for reassurance, rest, or emotional clarity. So if you have an opportunity to rest during these days, around the first days of January, then do it. Take your break. Because the challenge here is balance. Capricorn, it pushes toward responsibility and results. Cancer pulls you toward protection and emotional truth. So ignoring either side creates problems. And when you are not involved in some difficult work situations or difficult discussions at home or with the close ones, then you have this time and space to build the balance. And used well, this full moon helps you understand why certain responsibilities feel too heavy, and what kind of support or structure you actually need to carry them forward. And it prepares the good ground for the next phase, because later on, after the 3rd of January, we are driven to motivation and action. We start actually acting, but before that, we need this time to balance.
Yeah. I'm just going to jump in real quick. Sorry. This period up to the full moon, like I noticed as you were talking earlier, the December 30th to the 3rd or 4th of January, the sun will be in gate 38, which is the gate of the fighter. And though it doesn't sound like, the fighter sounds, obstreperous, it is less about fighting outwardly and more about fighting for meaning. And so I think about all of the things that you were talking about, like each sign having particular things to focus on. I really wonder if this period, this December 30th to the 3rd, might really be a great time, because this is this piece about fighting for meaning, right? Fighting, struggling for what matters to us individually. And so this sun being in this gate, I think, could be really supportive of that. And then this full moon, from a human design perspective, is in gate 39, which is the Provocateur, which is another root energy. It's another fuel for pushing through obstructions, and seeing obstruction as as truly like the pathway to analyze and reassess and reevaluate, and in order to bring more spirit and abundance and zest to life, right? So that's where this full moon will be at that moment. So I think about it being kind of like a really nice, just a nice energy, like pushing the world to pushing your world to make a little bit more, beauty happen in whatever has come over the month for you since the last full moon.
Yeah, that aligns perfectly as I see it. Yeah.
Do you think it's interesting that the whole idea around New Year's resolutions shows up right then? And then, but people come out of this year with a resolution that doesn't actually turn out to be the right resolution. And then it just falls apart. Is for people to be thinking about what you've been talking about in like, so what actually really does matter to me? Not like, oh, I should be thinner or and join a gym or something like that. But the resolution could be far more internal and yeah, and meaningful to the individual.
Yeah, that's interesting, Lois. And human design would say that's actually this thing about resolutions is actually not working in part because New Year's isn't actually the end of the cycle, right? From a human design perspective, the end of the cycle is the rave New Year, which is January 21st or 22nd in there. And that is actually the beginning point, the next start of the next cycle. And so it might be fun for folks to just play around with like hold off on those resolutions until the 22nd of January and try it then.
I'm trying to remember the astrology this year. Yeah, it could be a good time for resolutions around 20th of January. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but also there is also actually a reason why we have the new year on the 1st of January. That's the end of this Saturnalia, and that's the end of this feast when we are meeting the light, and then we are on the third day after the winter solstice, we have Christmas, and that's the time when for 3 days the sun stands on. It looks like it stands on one point, and the light doesn't actually add on. But then, starting from the 25th of December, starting from Christmas, we actually do see how the days become longer. And then by New Year, we actually we understand it completely. We see the difference. You will also, I guess we live in on different latitudes, but we all see that on the 1st of January we do actually have a longer time, a longer day than on the 21st of January of December. So there is a reason, but yeah, if it's really the end of the year, if it's the time for resolutions, I also see that it varies differs from year to year. Yeah. And maybe these resolutions, as you said, Lois, that the internal resolutions, this time we could also see some unpleasant things, some harsh things that come up. So our resolutions may be very transformational and about choosing to live on a different level, like it's like something big coming. It's definitely not the time to write a list of New Year wishes. It's not that. But for these big transformational things, yeah, I believe it's a good moment. Yeah, and then after this full moon, we have a very active period. From between January 6 and January 9, we go through a triple conjunction of the Sun with Venus, Venus with Mars, and then Sun with Mars. So we have three planets. Two of them are renovating, or they start a new cycle, Venus and Mars. And here, I think it's important to understand how the sequence of how it goes. It doesn't mean that on the 6th of January, when we have Sun and Venus, we will be thinking of Venus things. And on the 9th of January, when we have Sun and Mars, we will be thinking of Mars things. But the entire period, it makes up the logic of our thoughts. And it may happen a little earlier, a little later in your life. But first, we do Venus. It helps re-evaluate what we value, re-evaluating our values. And it's the time when we get the sense of whether my time and energy goes to the right place, whether certain relationships or financial choices or commitments, they still make sense. And this is often when you realize that something you've been maintaining out of habit no longer feels worth the effort. So that's when we set our priorities. That's our first step. And the second step goes with Venus together with Mars. When they conjoin, they help to find motivation, inspiration, because Venus's value is a desire and Mars is action. If desire and action don't match yet, this can feel tense. For example, you want to progress in the relationship or a project, but you lack resources, cooperation, time, and you start noticing, that's what I'm lacking. And if I lack it, what do? You get the stimuli to find the resources, to find the time and so on. And that's kind of negative motivation. But there is also a positive motivation, because when you have a desire and you have action and you act on your desire, that's actually that's kind of an act of creation. That's something very, very inspiring and motivating from this feeling of joy. That's where I believe this point where you can find what is really yours, where is your desire, and where you're ready to act on it. That's I think it's a pivotal point of January. We have a few in January, but that's one of the biggest. And finally, the third step is actually conjunction of Mars and Sun. And this is the renewal of the energy of action. That is the point where intention turns into commitment. We start doing things. And here we can have this feeling that something has to move. It's good when you know what you want to move. Then even if your movement is small, but in the direction of your desires, it's very valuable. But if you're acting just because you feel the urge to act, but you're not sure what do I do, and you just act, this acting out of frustration, it doesn't benefit. So that's why don't forget about the first step. Have set your priorities, see what you want. And it's not about what I want to achieve. It's something big and ambitious. It's something that becomes this internal desire. I want to, I don't know, I want to have time to read books every night. And then I feel that there I find the source of motivation to work tomorrow, or the motivation I want to read fairy tales to my children. And there I find this motivation for showing, for expressing my love, or it can be anything. So yeah, I think it's a big momentum. And it's also about, because it's in Capricorn, the moves should be realistic. They should not be something big and over your limits. They should not, you should think about your boundaries. And also Capricorn is about endurance and sustaining. So that's what you're choosing to do, what you can do every day, what you can you can commit to it for a long time, at least for some time.
Yeah, that's really interesting because all these conjunctions are happening in human design gate 54, which is the gate of ambition, right? And it is this fuel energy that we talked about. And it's a tribal energy. And so I'm listening to you and I'm hearing this, like, do these things, for yourself. And yes, that's true, but really there is this underlying energy of providing, right? Like, people often have this energy of ambition, to be ambitious and go out and make things happen in the world in order to, like you said, be able to read books to their children at the end of the day, right? Like, they work really hard in order to do something else for the people in their life that they love. And so that is kind of a very deep underlying energy of this all these conjunctions. And there is, and it connects in the body graph to the gate of continuity. And so there is also this energy of, like, really evaluating what things are worth, using this fuel for, what things are worth being ambitious about, like, what's the continuity here, like, and this reassessment is necessary, right? Like, this idea that, when we know this, we see this in the world, people get caught up working so hard on things that either aren't actually doing the thing that they think they are, or aren't fulfilling them in other ways, right? And so this energy can get caught in that space of feeling the pressure to provide and to do for others in a way that can take us away from our own joy, quite frankly, because again, this is in the same joyous section, right? So just being aware of that too. Yes, it's good to work for people. Yes, it's good to have ambition. Yeah, and also it's not worth it for its own right, right? There has to be some higher purpose there.
Mhm. Yeah, nice. Really. And yeah, and it also relates to our full moon, because in this full moon we have this this balance that we need to form. So yeah. And it's also what I want to stress again, that it's better not to take any actions if you are not sure where to go, than just do exercise. Then just do small things, get this energy out of you, but don't do something wrong, because right after that, in between January 9th and 14th, we have the opposition to Jupiter of all these planets, because they all go in a row. And this opposition to Jupiter, it's a phase about, I call it a scale phase, because how much is too much? How big is this really? How many resources, emotional, financial, physical, do I actually have, or do I actually have to invest? Because Jupiter amplifies everything. It gives confidence, hope, generosity, emotions, but it also gives this excess, like excessive. During this period, it's easy to overestimate what you can handle, and to promise more than you can realistically deliver, and to feel stronger than the situation itself. So if you act just out of acting, and then you definitely will find yourself in this period from the 9th to 14th in some big project or some big promise that you've made, and you overestimate it. So it's not the time to take extra responsibilities. It's not the time to spend more than planned, just because it feels justified. It's not the time to expect emotional support that others can't fully give. So we have huge expectations during this time. So what helps during this phase, what actually makes us grow, because Jupiter promises growth, it can give growth. It's best not to suppress it, but it is best to contain it. So we need to measure everything. I mean, setting clear limits on time, money, and also emotional involvement, even with love, because you can exaggerate the feeling you have and then feel sorry about it. Check numbers, schedules, graphs, all information if you want to sign an agreement, if you want to go into something. And separate this emotional needs from practical decisions. That's important, because over-promising and all this potential over-decisions and over-enthusiasm, it doesn't bring you anywhere, because enthusiasm cannot replace structure. It cannot replace the way we live. We cannot be fooled only from enthusiasm. So be careful with it. It's kind of tests everything that was set in motion earlier, this phase. And if something is realistic, it survives this period. If it is inflated, it becomes obvious. And actually, I find it perfect that it happens so fast, that you can see it so fast. But it is also not nice when you are acting without prioritizing first, because if you act and overpromise, and then you can see the results much later, a month, maybe years later, you find out that, oh, I have overpromised. That was too much.
I find that super fascinating, because if somebody had asked somebody to give a definition of gate 53, which is where Jupiter is in the human design body graph, they would have said exactly what you said, right? So gate 53 is the gate of beginnings, right? It's the gate of development. And it's said that, people that have this energy want to begin things all the time. There's just this sense of starting new things. And if they don't have the other energy of finishing, which is the other part of the channel, then they don't finish a lot of things, right? And so people with this energy are warned, like, don't start things. Definitely don't start things that you're not committed to, right? Because this energy will want to see things through. And so everything you just said about Jupiter, it's like, don't start anything, because if you get stuck in that completion cycle, you're not going to be happy. So, and it's a root fuel energy. It doesn't have emotional awareness, right? So it doesn't honestly know what to start all the time or not, right? And so paying attention to that, I think, could be really helpful. But I just love that. I was just like, wow, she's talking gate 53. So
No surprises here. Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't mean do nothing. Just measure and do what you've planned earlier. Yeah, that's possible. Because I actually think that probably the most constructive period is the period after January 16th. That's the end of the moon, lunar months, and that's the end of the season. We have the new moon on the 18th of January, but during this phase before the new moon and right after the new moon, we have a change that brings kind of everything together, what we have lived through during January and the end of December. At this time, the new moon is aligned with Mars and Mercury. We have a lot of conjunctions, and now we have Mars and Mercury conjunction, and it's about decisions, conversations, planning, and concrete steps. Mars is action, Mercury is logic, is thought. So we get everything. There are two ways. Either we are planning to do something and we actually are ready to do it, because we plan as Mercury and act as Mars, or we have already started to act out of this motivation, out of this inspiration that we got earlier, and now we see how to structure it, how to organize it better. So it works either way well. It's perfect time to discuss things, to write down, to schedule, to formally agree on something. A good moment to define terms and set timelines and clarify responsibilities, because this is the first time when we have this Saturn not just overseeing the planets, but it actually takes part in an aspect. It aspects the new moon, it aspects Mars and Mercury. So it supports, finally, it's like you were running somewhere, and then you come to the end, and then you see that you don't have maybe enough energy to run further, but you feel this support from the system, from the people around, from everything, and you find this durability, this sustainability, because Saturn gives weight. It gives weight to everything that starts here. And that's actually the time, almost the time for our New Year wish list, our New Year resolutions, because commitments made during this phase, they tend to hold. Again, only if they are realistic, only if they are not over exaggerated. But what is realistic, it tends to hold. And what you start now should be something you are prepared to maintain, not just try out. It's not an experiment phase. It's something that you have well thought through, and you know what you are going to do next. Yeah, we get some help from Uranus as well, because it gives some creativity, flexibility. We have some help from Neptune that adds intuition. So we have a lot of help from bigger planets. So it's a good time to change, to introduce change to the systems, to the processes, to your life routines, without breaking them. It's not a revolutionary time. It's just smart changes and creative solutions. So yeah, and it's interesting that you may still not have full clarity yet. You still have, there will still be something that is unclear, but you can sense much better which direction aligns, which one doesn't, which is yours and which is not. And so taken together is probably, it's about intelligent alignment, because Saturn provides structure, Uranus allows change and creativity, Neptune gives help from intuition, Mars and Mercury give you a possibility to plan. So altogether, it is clearly a starting point. That's when you can really start something. Yeah, so yeah, I just believe that that's the development of the season is very logical. It's very human-like, because first we have this urge, I want to do something. That's where Venus steps in, and then we start acting and trying out, and then we maybe over exaggerate and over promise, and try things and feel enthusiastic, and then we face reality and we actually plan it, and yes, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that. I think that this new moon is in the perfect, so it's in gate 61, which is in our head center, and it is a mental energy. It's a mental pressure, right? It's not a fuel like from the root, but it is a pressure to understand. It's this inner knowing, right? And to understand what's not understandable. So I think that that is a particularly nice energy for, if you really do set intentions or resolutions or whatever at this point in the year, there is this energy supporting your own inner knowing in a really strong and vital way. Um, and you'd mentioned Saturn, Saturn is in gate 36.6, which is the gate of crisis. But really, it's about experiences, right? It's about bringing new experiences into the world. It's an emotional gate, it's always seeking new ways of being, right? And so I think about that 36.6, when we look in human design at any line that's in the sixth line position, it's always looking over to the next gate. And the next gate in the wheel is gate 25, which is one of my favorites. We've talked about it before. It's the gate of innocence, right? And it's this innocent love, love of humanity, essentially. And so I think about all of these things coming together as we're starting this new cycle, right? Of Saturn looking to this for new experiences that will probably be more aligned with this idea of innocence and love for humanity, which, boy, howdy, could we use more of that on the planet? I'm ready for that. But also with this inner knowing, right? Our own inner compass being really on board while we're in gate 61. So I don't know. I like how all those energies are coming together. So I think it should be, I'm curious myself.
Yeah, me too. Quite excited. And yeah, just I thought about another conclusion before, but I will not say what it was now, because I don't want to override the idea of this joy behind, because that's really a reason to live, and that's really what keeps us, because winter is winter anyway, at least in winter in northern hemisphere, it's winter. And we have to endure, and we have to endure for something, and we have a chance during this season to find the purpose, the priority, something that inspires us, and maybe most probably it is within us. And this is the joy that you were talking about. Yeah.
And find some way to appreciate the sort of beings that, getting cozy and make the endurance pleasant.
Yeah, that's what we all need. Pleasant endurance. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds like we're coming to a close here, ladies. Thank you so much. And our listeners, a lot in store here for our Capricorn season. I would think you might need to listen to this twice to take all this rich information in, so don't hesitate to do that. Thank you all, and thank you for joining us.